Hello, this is Mr. Doty again, and this is going to be part 2 of our Chapter 4 video series here for our AutoCAD book. And so Chapter 4 does a lot of different things, and some of my classes I have you complete a template drawing before Chapter 4 at the end of Chapter 2 because it gives you enough information for you to do it, sort of. So I introduced layers and things there, but being this is set up, this video is to help out my online people as well. I feel like maybe I need to move it to chapter 4, and so in the future I'll be doing that. So probably when you watch this video, if you're in a future class, you'll be doing it in chapter 4 because basically it starts out with the layers. You can see on my webcam view, and it goes through and it tells you about layers. There's a layers tutorial. Now I don't have any of the files from the class uploaded. I mean, you can use the code from your book if it's new, but I'm trying to make it as generic as possible so that anybody can do this and you don't have to have special files or anything. Okay, so like you're starting from scratch and you're learning. Here's some layers. You got your layers there. As you can see, my layers I made from the last video. The next thing it goes over is blocking. Well, I mean, blocking's okay, but this is the only time they show it to you, and it's kind of like, really? You show us once? I mean, and they're making a title block. Well, I don't see the point making the title block, so, or at least not as a block. So maybe this will be part of making the template. I don't know. We'll see what it turns into. I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing, and I've been teaching for a long time, so it's always something new to try to make things better. Alright, so moving along, I'm going to skip this blocking part because it's not really that big a deal. It's, you can look at it and it's fine, but it's more advanced than what really we need to do. So what I'm going to move over to is on this page you've got model and layout space. So let's touch on that real quick, or maybe not real quick, but as you can see, of course, I've got my layers, layer manager, layer property manager here, and I'm going to minimize him. Okay, so down here at the bottom, when you start out, you've got model, layout 1, and layout 2. So model is where we draw 99% of the time, and then you click on layout, and here's your piece of paper. Now my piece of paper is white. I'm not all that great with white because, well, I can show you here in a second, but anyway, things don't show up very well unless they're black or really dark. So yellow and green and stuff makes your eyes kind of twitch. So what I do is I right click, go to options, click on display, go to colors, and you'll notice it says sheet layout. Well, I'm going to change the color to black because black is better in this case for what I want to be able to see. The white sheet is great because it looks like a white sheet of paper, but it also hurts my eyes and I can't see things very well. So the darker the background, the better. I mean, I could pick a different color, but I mean, things are black and white, right? Haha. Anyway, so you just hit OK, and now there's my black piece of paper. So like I said, we have model, which is where we draw most of the time. Then we have layout 1 and layout 2. On layout 1 and 2, you have what we call a viewport. And when you're making a template file and you want to, basically what this is this is something you can scale. It's a window into model space, And so if anything I draw in model space can show up in this window if I want it to. All right, so to activate it, there's two ways. You can double click inside of it, and notice here now I can hold down and pan, I can zoom in and out, but I'm in model space right now. And you'll notice that down here you get this little scale, so you can click on that, and depending on if your AutoCAD loaded right or not, which who knows if it did, some of mine don't load all these scales, so I would be hopeful that yours has all these different scales, and then of course you can do a custom scale if you need to. So when we're making a template, which I'm kind of leaning towards just making this into a series of how to make a template, you've got your model and layout space, and then it starts talking about, all right, so if you look at, I don't know if you can see it very well, but anyway, if you look at the book here, and on this page right here, you'll see a drawing with 3 views and a title block. And basically that is what we're going to end up with when we're done, is we're going to have a template that we can use to pull up every time to put our views on. Okay, so there's multiple steps to all this. Okay, and then it goes in and it starts talking about lines, which I'm pretty sure brought into on chapter 3, chapter 2 or 3, I forget, but we talked a little bit about lines, and one of the things that it talks about is center lines on here. But let's go back to over here where we're talking about, here's your scales in your viewport. So whatever you draw, if it's 1 to 1, that's full scale. 1 to 2 is half scale. 1 to 4 would be like quarter scale. And then if you had like architectural stuff, you've got 1/4 inch is equal to a foot, and so on. You also have 2 to 1, which would be double scale, and 4 to 1, which would be 4 times bigger, kind of, that kind of thing. All right, and later on, I will be expecting you to do this, because this is what in the real world you're going to do. So basically, I've got it activated. Let's say I'm going to put it on 1 to 1, and it zooms it up or scales it up, and then you hold down with your middle mouse button, you move it around to where you get it where you want. Well, that's great and all, but that's not my finished product. So I'm going to deactivate it. You can either double click out here like so, or if you've activated it down here where it says paper, then you can just click on model, and there you go. Alright, so that's model space and the layout space, basically, or model tab and layout tab. So that's pretty simple there. So last time we made layers, right? So if I was going to make a template file, which I'm just going to kind of throw at you right now, on a template file, what I would do is I would create my layers, right? So I've created my layers. One of the next things that I do is you can get to it different ways. You can go to format, and you can go to text style, or you can just type in style. So if I pick on that, it's the same thing as typing in style, and you get this dialog box, and you'll notice that you have annotative and standard. Alright, so let me just explain something. Annotative, and actually in the wagon tutorial, they had you use annotative, or you were supposed to, I think. Anyway, and what annotative does is you can scale things automatically, basically. We always have a standard, and what I do is I use standard for my dimensions, And the reason that I'm saying that is because I need one set to 0, right? And so I have standard set to 0. I make a new text style, right? I don't bother naming it. I just say fine, style 1 works. And then for style 1, I want to make it 0.125. Okay? And Arial is fine. Now, as far as fonts go, Arial is good. Times New Roman is fine. Roman S is a CAD standard. Let me find it down here. Roman S. Boom. I don't like it because it's too simple. Maybe that's why. But Roman triplex is okay. Romant is the same thing. There's Romant. That's a little more complicated. Probably not your best bet. Roman. Let's see. Or I'm sorry. It's under Times New Roman. That may be another one you've heard of. Is Times New Roman. Let's see. Where's it at? Times New Roman. Boom. Yeah. See, Times New Roman looks a little bit better. And then here's the main thing. Do not use this one right here. That's a no-no. If you send me one that has a text font on it, I'm gonna turn right around and tell you to fix it because it looks horrible. Those are the worst letters ever. So Verdana is really close, and I would take that one as well. So which one do we not want to pick? That guy right there. Do not pick it. And if you are the kind of person who is going to do something no matter what I say, you're going to end up having to fix it, whether you like it or not. Or keep the really crappy grade and keep getting a bad grade until I beat it into your head, right? Uh-oh. But anyway. So typically what Arial should come up, I don't know. It does on mine. Maybe it's because that's what I use all the time. Anyway, so style 1 is what I want. Standard, I'm going to leave it 0. Yes, I'm going to save changes. So standard is 0. Style 1 is 0.125. Arial's fine. Like I said, Verdana, Times New Roman, Roman S is fine. All right, I'm going to make sure that this is current. So I'm going to pick style 1, set current, and then it doesn't need me to apply anything, and I'm just going to hit close. All right, I've set my style up. Okay, so the next thing, and don't remember if I talked about this or not in any of my other videos, but if you right click, well, my printing video, if I did one, is where you would do this. So you right click on model down here. You can also go up here to file, which remember you got to turn that on here by, yours would say show menu bar if you don't have it on. Mine's on, so it says hide, so I'm going to leave it on. You can go to file, you can go to page setup manager there, or you can right click over model, or in this case I want to right click over layout 1 because I'm not printing from model space, I'm printing from here. And there's a printing tutorial later on in this thing too. Alright, so I'm going to go to page setup manager, and if you remember, this pops up, right? And you click on modify, and what I want to do is, okay, so some people tell you in the instructions that you might have, that I have for the template file, it might say, you know, pick your printer. Well, why pick a printer that may or may not be? These are all my ones for school, and then I have all these other ones, right? Well, why don't you pick something like, okay, so AutoCAD has a built-in PDF generator. So why don't we just choose that? Works, and then I don't have to worry about it, because most of the time, you know, you're going to create. Now, I don't want PDF files, okay? You're going to give me your drawing files. So this is just how I'm setting it up, okay? Just keep that straight. All right, this needs to be set to monochrome so that whenever you would print something, it would come out as black and white. Full bleed A. If you don't have this right here, it's not going to work right. So if you'll pick this, the rest of the directions will make sense. Okay? And then layout's fine. Scale is 1:1, inches for this one. And then landscape. All right, so pretty much that's it. And you hit OK, and you hit close. And now you'll notice that those hidden lines that were right there, those dashed lines all the way around, they're gone, right? Okay, good. All right, so moving along, this is turning into a template video. Imagine that. All right, so we're dealing with our layouts, right? So I tell you what, right now I'm going to right click on this guy and I'm going to click rename. Now I could do this later, but I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to put my cap lock back on and I'm going to type in inch. And I'm also going to take this one right here and I'm not going to do anything with him. Actually, yes I am. I am going to delete him because you're like, why do you want to delete him? Because I don't need him. And it says, oh my gosh, you can't delete everything. Well, I understand that. It says selected layouts will be permanently deleted. To delete select layouts, click OK. To cancel, tick cancel. The model tab may not be deleted. Okay, fine. No problem. So I have model and inch left. Okay. Now we're going to add a metric one, but that's in a minute. Okay, so basically, if you think about it, we're going to end up with something minus these views here on the sheet. That's what we're going to end up with. And I don't know that I can leave this here and it's set, so I'm going to scoot it back over. So you don't have to necessarily pay attention to the little book portion down here. Alright, so anyway, moving along, if you'll remember, we learned how to make a rectangle, right? So let's go to rectangle, and here's what you want to do. It says first corner. Well, I want to create a border that is a 1/4 inch from this corner and a 1/4 inch in from this corner, right? And you're like, oh, I can do that. Well, can you? I hope so. No. So you remember we talked about when we have dynamic on and off, and I want it on. Leave it on, please. From now on, make sure that's on. And if this doesn't show up, click over here. Make sure that that's checked so that this is there. So it looks like a little battery with a plus, okay? Make sure that that is on, right? See, it says dynamic input on. All right, because it makes everything relative, which is what I want. My first input as far as a coordinate can be not relative. It can be absolute. So like this is the corner of my paper and it's 0, 0. So if I want to make the first corner to be 0.25 comma 0.25. Is that what I did? 0.25, 0.25. Alright, if I want to do that, then it actually puts it in 1/4 of an inch from the corners, right? Up and over. Alright, so let's do a little math. Well, we've got 11 inches and 8.5, right? Well, for my x, you take 11 inches and you're going to subtract the 1/4 inch for this side and the 1/4 inch for this side, so that's a 1/2 inch. So you take 11 minus a 1/2 gives you 10.5. Now when I type this one in, it's relative, which means it's 10.5 from this corner over to here. That's not the actual coordinate, but it's relative to where I started, okay? And hopefully I beat that, that dead horse pretty well. Okay, so the other one is you've got 8.5 and you subtract a 1/2 for the 1/4 inch up and the 1/4 inch top and bottom, right? So 1/4 inch top, 1/4 inch bottom, it's a 1/2 inch, so it'd be 8. And then I hit enter. And that's, so I started off with an absolute coordinate of 0.25, 0.25, 0.25, comma 0.25, and then I moved it on up, and the next coordinate was 10, comma 8. I'm sorry, 10.5, comma 8. It's right there. And see, here's another thing. So if you don't have this docked, then you grab these little dots right there and you pull it down to here, and then it'll dock it, and then you can grab the top right here and you can drag it up to give you a little bit of room, and it'll show you stuff. Okay. Alright, so I've got my border and we're running on 20 minutes, almost 21, and it's really not that hard from here on out. So here's what I want to do. I want to make, well, first of all, I like using the explode command. And you're like, what? Yeah, the explode command, because if you pick on it, you can blow stuff up, like, boom, enter. Guess what? Now, instead of being one line, connected together, a polyline, now it's just a line. So then I can go to my next favorite command, the offset, or go to the racetrack, is what I say. And you click on offset, and what I want to do is I want to offset this line up. So it says specify offset distance or through. Well, I want to specify a distance, and my distance is 0.375, and that's 3/8. And I pick this line, I move it in the direction I want to go, move my mouse, and then I pick with my left button, and there it is. Now I'm still in offset mode. The cool thing about the newer versions of AutoCAD is I don't have to go back out of offset and back in to change the distance. I can actually pick the next line I want to offset, and I don't really want to offset it 0.375. I actually want to offset it 2.5. So I can type in the next distance and hit enter, and then I can pick this line, the direction I want it to go. 1.25 is the next distance, enter. Pick this line, pick the direction. 1 is the next measurement, and then I hit enter. And then your last measurement is 4, and I want to pull it to the right, type in 4, enter, and then I can finish it out by hitting enter. Remember to always finish out your commands by hitting enter. Alright, so now I can use my trim command up here. So I pick trim. I need to get rid of the line parts up here, so I want to pick the line that crosses them, which is this guy, and then I hit enter, and then I pick, or I could pick and pull it over like so, and there you go. So that's pretty cool. So now I've got a place to put my text down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the name here, the class, the date, the drawing name, and the scale. And you're saying, how do you do that? Well, I can use text. And what I've decided to do is something I figured out recently is I go to multi-line text. And a cool thing that you can do is you can pick the corners like this, and then you get this nice little menu up here under text editor, and you can click on justification, middle center, boom. And then if you turn cap locks on, which it should be, you can put your name. Don't put mine, put yours. So whatever your name is right there, and don't put, YOURNAME, haha. Yeah, that might be kind of funny, but then you won't get a grade for it, right? Okay, so I want that, and I'm happy with that. And you're saying, okay, well, how did you make sure that your letters were right? Well, you remember we went to that style command, and we set it to 0.125. Well, that's the boom, that's it. All right, so how do you get out of it? You click the little green check mark, and then guess what? We're going to repeat multi-line, corner, 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 there we go, middle center, and this one is CAD1. Oops. Whatever class I'm in, close text editor. Okay, the next three I'm going to use some different things. I'm going to do the same text, multi-line text, and pick the corner, right? And then also middle center, sure. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this guy right here. This is called Fields. Now you get this option here. Well, guess what? They have a date option. And I am going to pick something small that's going to fit and hit OK. And you'll notice that it has that box around it. That's okay. That's just the way it is. It's fine. Close text editor. Okay, so now I have a field. So every time that I open up my template, you know, whenever I use my template in the future, it'll put the right date on there when I save it. May not be the right date when I pull it up, but it'll do it when I save it. All right, the next thing that goes here is our drawing name. And there is an option where we can do that. So I'm going to go multi-line text, pick this corner, same thing, middle center, and I'm going to go to field. Now this time I want to click on, well, I thought file was on here. Let's look for files. Aha, file name. Now you'll notice it says path and file name. No, I want file name only. And you're like, really? Do not display the file extension. So here's the deal. If you will save your assignments or drawings as whatever the assignment's called. So let's say it's P4-1. And if it had a word name, you know, pulley or whatever, that's fine. So you save it as that, and then that will show up, file name only, do not display that, so uncheck that, you hit OK. And so right now I'm in drawing 1 because I haven't saved it as anything, and when I save it as something else, then it'll change to that, and it automatically, for the most part, it'll automatically update. Close text editor. Now this one's a little more complex, and you just have to bear with me for a second because this is just how I do it. So I'm going to go to text, I'm going to go to multi-line, I'm going to pick this, and I want the middle of this right here, and you'll notice that I can't get it because this isn't just a line from there to there, right? Well, you remember I showed you in another video where you hold down shift and you right click, and there's this thing called mid between 2 points. So I can pick that, and I can pick that endpoint and that endpoint, and it'll actually pick that middle, which is kind of cool. I think it's cool, but that's just me. Middle center, and this one's going to be scale and a colon, just so we can be anal about it. And then I'm going to hit close text editor. All right, on the other side, I'm going to do something similar. I'm going to go multi-line text, and I'm going to pick this side, this corner here, and then shift right click, mid between 2 points, and I'm going to pick this corner and this corner, and now it's on this side, and middle center. Alright, and this time I'm going to use field. Now there's something that I used to goof up on before I did this, but it was just because I did it a different way. Now that I'm trying to use these fields, now I could have put scale and then put 1:1 and just manually type that in, and then of course I could have manually typed in this if I wanted to. But I like using fields because it kind of well, it automates your title block. Alright, so the next thing I want to look for here is object. So click on objects, click on object, and then you pick on this little button up here. So it's like, what do you want me to pick? All right, well, you remember this thing right here, the layout, or I'm sorry, the viewport? Pick that, and then it's like, oh, you want the viewport. Well, if I had stretched this to where it was, you know, over to my border and title block, then I couldn't pick it very well. So that's why I left it alone. So I can pick it, object, viewport, um, the property that I want is custom scale. And what I want it to do is use the scale's name. So if the scale is 1 to 1, then it's going to pop up 1 to 1. If it's 1 to 4, it's 1 to 8, 2 to 1, whatever it is, it'll show up. So object, you pick the viewport, custom scale, use scale name, OK. And there it is. And because it's highlighted like this, it's a field. And you hit close text editor and you're good. Alright, so my last step before I save this is I pick my corner. So I just picked this, you know, picked my rectangle, picked the corner, and then I'm going to grab this one and drag it over. I could have just come down here and dragged this one. So, and those are grips, and that's how you use them. And then I'm good, so I hit escape. And now I have my lovely, basically my template's done. So let's do a little review. We have our layers, right? Okay. We've created our title block here, yes. And we have created our text style, format, text style, right? And we did that. We created style 1, 1/8 inch tall, standard is 0, right? We're good. I'm going to hit cancel because I don't need to mess anything up. Alright, so the only other thing to do would be to say, hey, what if we wanted to make a metric template inside of the same file? Can you do that? Sure, why not? So before we save this thing, and hopefully you don't ever lose anything in the process, and you know, hopefully I don't get too long-winded on you, but here's what you want to do. So you remember right here we right-clicked, you know, and we did the rename thing. Well, why don't we do this? Go down under rename and look for move or copy. Now it's very important that you pick create a copy, and this time I'm going to pick move to end because I want it to go on the other side of inch. Anyway, it's in alphabetical order. So there you go. So move to end, create a copy, hit OK. Notice that it created another one down here, right? So if you click between the two of them, they look exactly the same. Well, right click, rename, call it metric, and hit enter. That's not it though. Now we have to do one more thing. Well, actually two more things. Alright, so you right click on here, go to Page Setup Manager. Remember that we had it set to 8.5 by 11. Well, guess what? Metric's a lot bigger. So what you want to do is over here under plot scale, change this to metric, millimeters, and then go back up here and pick 1 to 1. So 1 to 1, millimeters, 1 to 1. Layout, this is the same, this is the same, this is the same, nothing changed except this. Change that to metric, hit OK. And then hit, notice it's 215 by 279, and then hit close. Now you're like, well, what the heck? You got all that down there. How do I fix this? Very simple. Remember the scale command? Click on scale, put a window around it, right? So pick, pull it down, you know, pick and let go. Pull it down, pick again, and let go. And then hit enter. And you notice it says scale base point. Guess what? 0, 0 is what we want. That's the bottom corner, bottom left of our page. And now it's enter. Obviously you have to hit enter. Now the scale factor for metric, between metric and inch, is 25.4. So that is what our scale factor is, 25.4. And we type that in and we hit enter. And now guess what? We have our template that's metric, and now we have an inch. We have an inch template and we have a metric template. Boom. Alright, we're good to go. So the next or last thing that I want to do is I'm going to go to Save As. Now, yeah, you're not going to show this. Yours is a bunch of other stuff. This is just the last place I was at. What I want you to do is I want you to pick on this, go down here and pick template, right? And I want you to notice it puts it here. And you won't be able to find this, so we're going to do it twice. First time we're going to save it here. I want you to put AA, your initials, that way we know whose it is, and then just put a size, because this is an A size, which is 8.5 by 11 template, and we have metric and we have inch, and so we don't have to have two different files. So we have AA, BMD, A size. You can put whatever you want. If you just want to put AA-A size, that's fine. And you're probably asking, why is the AA there? Well, guess what? If your initial was Z, then it'd be down here at the bottom of the list. And in some versions of AutoCAD, you have a lot more of these on there, so it would be buried and be hard to find. So if you use AA, it moves it up to the top. Just a little, Windows thing to remember. All right, template file, yes. This is fine. I usually put a date on mine when I'm teaching because I do this every semester. So I'm not going to this time. I'm just going to do A size and hit save. You get this, and that's fine. You can delete it. You can do whatever. I usually just hit OK because I'm not really worried about it. There it is. AA, BMD, A size, DWT. Alright, so there's my template file. Alright, one last step. File, Save As. Now, instead of saving it here, I want you to save it to your OneDrive or your documents or wherever that you can go find your stuff. Your OneDrive may back up your documents, which is fine. So, let's say I do that. I say I want to save it under this folder for this year, and I say, there it is, save. And then I hit OK, and now it's saved in two different places. And I don't really worry about that. Alright, so there's your template file, right? Here's the next thing you need to do. Close it. Boom. Alright. And there's something I use for my other example. So go to Start, and instead of clicking on Start Drawing, because then that's just going to pull up the AutoCAD DWT, which doesn't have anything on it, let's use our template we just made. Click on Templates. There it is. Look, it's right at the top, just like I said. Pick on it, and now all I need to do is click on Model, and I can start drawing. I can say, hey, I want to be on Object, and I want to draw a line, and there's my shape. Boom. Good. Alright, so I want to go turn it in, right? So I click on it. Let's say it's an inch drawing. So I click on inch, and I double click here, and you're like, where is it? Well, Z, enter, A, enter. And there it is. And I hold down my middle mouse button, I can pan it around. If you double click with your middle mouse button, it does a zoom all basically, or it zoom centers it. So a zoom all or a zoom center, whichever one you want to do, will work. Then down here, make sure that you set this to a scale. Don't leave it like this. click on this, click on, try 1 to 1 to start with. Oh my, it's too big. That's okay. Try 1 to 2. All right, 1 to 2 is close. All right, 1 to 4. All right. Most of yours are going to be 1 to 1. All right, so I've got it what I want. I've got it in the middle. If I needed to move it, I can hold this down. Just be careful not to accidentally move this, right? Because, oh no, it's wrong. I got to fix it. Well, get it in the middle, go back, and there it is. Now, it says 1 to 4. This isn't updated. This isn't updated. None of the, well, that's right, because it's today. So how do I fix this stuff? Well, first of all, I need to deactivate this. So remember, you can pick on model space or double click out here. So I'm going to deactivate. And the next thing I need to do is go up here to insert, right? Yes. Insert, update fields. Just pick them all, doesn't matter. And then hit enter. And there it is. Look, 1 to 4. And then when I save this, this will automatically, so okay, let's go to save. And I'll call it test 1, 10, 25, 19, and save. There it is, boom. All right, so I've used my template. I didn't open my template, I used it. All right, so we're about 42 minutes in, and hopefully I haven't bored you too much. Try to keep it entertaining at least, maybe, who knows. But this is basically what I want. And there's your template. And I've covered some other stuff. So I'll do another video on some of the other stuff as far as line types and things and what they do, and how to draw your 3 views. All right, well, thank you and have fun.